I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I'd bet on the Jets being a little bit rough every single season. It's just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why? I'm a Jets fan and it's just brutal every single season. You get your hopes up, and then week one happens, and like, oh, dang it, this is here we go again. The same old Jets, right? Well, we got a lot to talk about here. I want to break this roster down. We're going to go through to a free agency strategy and talk draft, talk everything Jets today because oh man, where to begin with this football team because the miscues have been the thing. And yes, I understand that Aaron Glenn, this is his first time as a head coach, but at the same time, he's got some experience, especially on the defense side of the ball with Steve Wilkes. There's no excuses, the amount of miscues that they have had right now and blown coverages. That's what's really baffling to me right now. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Right, let's start with the offense, okay? And start with Justin Fields. That conversation, we need to begin with this because this is a very interesting conversation. I love Justin Fields. I mean, I really do. I'm rooting for the guy, and it is still too early in the season to go crazy. They've got so much talent on this roster, and that's why I don't think they're an 0-5 team right now. And their schedule is pretty dang easy. I think it's going to open up for them, and I expect them to not be the number one overall pick when it's all said and done. I fully think that they're going to win some more games than what they're currently being projected. So don't be surprised if things do get a little bit better. And that's my hope, too. I want to see things get improved and Aaron Glenn and this coaching staff and the football team come together. But right now, quarterback, is it a need? Yes, it is. And we go through this every couple of years. If you are a Jets fan out there, I mean, I'm sure you understand it's like every 2-3 years, which quarterback are we taking in the draft? Like that's what it comes down to. And then 2 year, 3 years after that, it's like, which team is going to get the quarterback that we drafted and then turn that quarterback into a franchise quarterback, right? Like, that's what it is out here. Even the Giants fans, I'm sure, are well aware of that. With Justin Fields, though, I see too much inconsistency. There are times where I'm like, Justin Fields, oh my gosh, he could be the franchise. But it's just so inconsistent on that. Most of the time with Justin Fields, I feel like 7 out of 10 games he plays, he's missing wide open receivers through and through. And yeah, it's easier for me to say watching film than being there and actually playing and throwing the game. But obviously, as a quarterback in the NFL, that's what you're paid to do, and that's your job and everything like that. So it's tough. It is tough, and I just think that there are so many misses on film. He holds on to the football way too long. And his vision, too, as a runner isn't great, even though he's got tremendous legs. When he does hit the lane, when he's got it going, man, he could take it to the house, as we've seen with Justin Fields. It just comes down to that consistency as a passer. I don't think it's there. I really don't. And that's where I'm at. So we need to switch some things up. I mean, I love Tyrod Taylor as a backup. He is a free agent this offseason, so there's that. We're going to have to invest in the quarterback, clear cut, but maybe we can do something different. I don't know. We'll talk about more of that when we get in free agency in the draft. Going on to running back, my thing is, and I'm hearing right now, Breece Hall could be a trade candidate. I personally would keep Breece. I love Breece Hall. I think he's a guy that we can give a contract to, no problem about it. He shouldn't cost us he's not going to be top end Saquon Barkley money. I'm guessing somewhere in the Josh Jacobs range, around $12 million. Get him on a 3-4 year deal. He's a great running back and somebody that has had a really good season. He's had some fumbling. I mean, this past game, he had a fumble. He actually had two. Well, the one, it was down technically. But any which way, Breece Hall is a guy that I would not be looking to trade if it were me. All right, maybe Darren Muji says, hey, we got to recoup some assets. We're a struggling football team. I could understand that. But if you're going to give him away for a 5th or 6th round pick to the Chiefs or whatever, it's not worth it. I'd rather pay him, keep him on the roster. He is worth that in my eyes. Braylon Allen, unfortunately, injured right now. He got injured on a kick return. You got Isaiah Davis working in right now as the backup. They brought in some guys like Khalil Herbert to give him a little bit more depth at the moment. Overall, their running back room is not that big of a need. It's something that as long as you bring back Breece Hall, and if you don't bring back Breece Hall, then this becomes a need in a running back class that isn't, it isn't super insane, right? So it's going to be very, very interesting if we were to lose Breece Hall. What would we end up doing there? Do we sign somebody in free agency? I would just rather bring back Breece Hall, and I'd rather keep my playmakers rather than lose them. And we don't have really enough right now as it is. And speaking of which, the wide receiving in the tight end room, this is a big need. It's a really, not just a sneaky need, like it's a clear-cut need. Besides Garrett Wilson, who, we need more help out here. Now, Mason Taylor has gotten better as the weeks have gone on. Like it's just coming off his best game really versus the Cowboys, made some incredible plays. And overall, even Ruck has been solid this season. I wouldn't mind giving him a couple-year deal as a good backup. I'm not saying he's a starter. We've got Mason, but I think that Ruck's come along well this season. I've been a little lower on Ruck, so I'm excited that he has really come along and developed some here and given us a good quality backup tight end number two. So with that being said, I don't think the tight end room needs a whole ton of anything really. Maybe bring in a veteran, re-sign Ruck, and we're good to go. Wide receiver is the big thing here. Arian Smith is a project, and we kind of knew that coming out of Georgia. He needs to work on his hands, hit the jug machine, right? And he's been working out there. He's got the athleticism, he's got the upside, and maybe he's a guy that if Justin Fields can get the ball to him more consistently, then maybe we can see a little bit more. He only has like 5 targets this season, so I can't judge a whole ton with Arian Smith as of this moment. I'm just going strictly off of what I have seen, and then from his college days, there's a lot of talent there, and if we can put it together, Arian Smith could be a good wide receiver for us. It's just right now, I still think it's a pretty big need. Alan Lazard's a free agent, not doing much right now. Josh Reynolds, a quality, like fourth, fifth wide receiver, not really a starter, right? And Tyler Johnson, same thing. Good, solid backup, not really a starter. He's a free agent. We got all those things in mind. We need to upgrade this wide receiving room. Garrett Wilson is amazing. However, could we use somebody who can go up and make a contested catch more consistently? You can't bank on Garrett Wilson doing Miami Dolphin games all the time, right, or anything like that. But even though Garrett Wilson's awesome, he's just more of a separator type, right? And yak machine. We could use another dude who can be a contested catch, seam or down the sideline, one-on-one type of ball threat. That would be really, really nice in this offense too. Offensive line is really solid. Now, they've struggled a bit, but I also think I credit sacks a lot with quarterbacks. And in this case scenario, it's not always on the quarterback. I would put the majority on Justin Fields, and that's just me personally. I think he holds on to the football way too long. The offensive line, in my eyes, is a very solid unit. It's not perfect. We've had our struggles, especially versus the Bucs and the Cowboys. It's not been great at times, but overall, like this is an average to above average offensive line with more continuity, with more growth. I don't see this as a huge need going into the offseason. However, there are a couple of things we need to look at, and the interior is the biggie. John Simpson's a free agent. Josh Myers is a free agent. When we bring back one of those guys, also Elijah Vera Tucker's a free agent. His injury history, he has 3 season-ending injuries, which suck. Because ABT's a great football player. It just, the injuries have been the big thing. I fully expect him to come back, though, for a 1-year type of prove-it scenario deal for this Jets football team. And I'm going to bank on that, especially if we go into offseason and making that decision. At least that's my hope. He shouldn't be super expensive. Maybe like 1 year, $7 to $10 million range with incentives. Something like that would make a lot of sense for me. Because especially with the injury history, we're not giving him a ton of guarantees or anything like that, but a 1-year prove-it deal, that's really where my eye's at, because I know how good of a football player he is. It's just the injuries have been the big thing. Your availability is your best ability, right? That's one thing I'll say about Simpson. And, Tip has been really solid out there, too. I think Tip's our best interior guy right now. Fashanu at left tackle. I know he's getting a little heat right now. I have watched the film. I've watched the games of Fashanu. I like Fashanu a lot. I still think he is maybe the best offensive lineman we have right now. Now, he does still have issues with his hands, and sometimes he'll get a little off balance with his upper body and end up losing a rep. Like you look at early on in the Dallas game, he did lose a rep right at the beginning, I believe. And then he lost a couple of reps in there. He lost one where it was like a clear loss to the inside. Overall, I think Fashanu is a franchise left tackle. I think the PFF stats don't really back up as well as Fashanu has played. He doesn't get as much chip help. I know Mbu is the better PFF grade guy right now. In my eyes, though, I think Fashanu is still the better tackle personally at the moment. Now, I do think Mbu has more upside possibly. Mbu's a monster. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not hating on Mbu. He's a starter in the NFL already. He's looking pretty good. He's got some extremely high-level blocks. You can go throughout the weeks and even to week 1 versus the toughest edge rusher he's faced so far in TJ Watt. And he had a couple of good blocks on TJ. But he's also had a lot of chip help on that side. They're putting tight ends specifically more on Mbu's side to help him out. And that's fair. That's something I would want to do too. He's a rookie. You're expecting Fashanu to take that year 2 step. And I think he's taken a bit of a step, actually. And there are still some things, as I mentioned, he can clean up on. Overall, this offensive line, not getting into too much of the nitty and gritty and that sort of stuff. But I think we got bookend tackles. We got Tip, who can play guard or can play center. We're going to need to draft a guard this season, somewhere in that, possibly early. It just depends on what we do in free agency, who we resign or get in free agency. And then possibly draft pick wise, I'd be looking at 3rd through 5th round range, at least getting one guy there to improve there. And then also Max Mitchell, He's a free agent, so I would love to bring him back. He shouldn't be super expensive as a swing tackle. That's really my eyes, though, for this team is we need a wide receiver. We need a quarterback. Obviously, that's number one question with you figuring this out. But weapon is another big area of need, and then a guard to draft and develop. Then moving on to this defense here, where I would say the top needs are the secondary. And a big thing that I'm looking at right now, though, in terms of strictly draft needs, actually might be the top need would be an edge rusher for the future, but the safety position has to be improved this offseason. And the coaching has to be improved too. Like Steve Wilkes, as a veteran play caller, I want to see less miscues. That when we talk about coaching, that is a big deal. Right now, we have had so many busted coverages. It's a reoccurring theme from a week to week perspective. It just seems like every single week there's always like two or three busted coverages where we're allowing huge monster explosive plays, whether it's in the run game, pass game, or both, particularly both. And that is where we have to improve this offseason. And not just this offseason, I want to see improvements now. Like, I want to see improvements as we go throughout this season. And something that I would expect maybe from a rookie defensive play caller, maybe not just from a veteran defensive caller. And yes, Aaron Glenn is partially to blame too. And I'd expect a little bit more from Aaron Glenn, who is more of a defensive mind, right? And I know he's playing more of a CEO role. However, like these are things that are problems. As a former DB, why are we having so many busted coverages out here? And that would be something that I would be questioning. I'm not ready to give up on this coaching staff. I'll talk about coaching staff in a minute and where we're viewing on that. But with the roster, the needs, edge rusher might be the sneaky need here. Free agents, we can add some safeties. I like Malachi Moore. He's gotten beat a couple of times. He's been out of position, a recurring theme, as I've talked about. Malachi Moore in quarters coverage seems like a little bit of a loose ability and something they do. I don't love him in that department, and especially in Alabama. He gets flat-footed at times and just allows big explosive plays behind him, but he is still a super talented guy, and I expect him to grow and hopefully long-term could be a starter for us. It just, as of right now, I can't really say that with confidence, right? Cisco struggled. I feel like Tony Adams has actually been better than Cisco right now, but Adams hasn't even played amazing either. Just the safety room in general is not very good. Cornerback room hasn't been very good either. Sauce Gardner's had a bit of a disappointing season, in my opinion. Coming off a tough matchup with George Pickens. But in general, I feel like Sauce Gardner struggled a little bit this year. Still think he's a premier corner. And cornerback's a position that can vary a little bit from year to year. So I'm not like super panic button. But when you're paid as the top end corner in the NFL, just expect a little bit more, right? So those are nitpicking things with Sauce. I still love Sauce. Michael Carter, we brought in Jarvis Brownlee Jr. to help out there, give us some more depth. I expect him to start getting more and more reps. And Carter's been injury prone and whatnot too. So there's that. And we're having to get up Brownlee there, which is going to help us out with some depth. And I wouldn't mind bringing back Brownlee. I think he's a solid corner to have, especially if he's, your number two or something like that, can also play on the outside. I am not super high on Stevenson. I'm worried about that signing a little bit. I know he's gotten some tough assignments and everything like that, but I just seen him get beat in coverage way too many times. Azariah Thomas, man, I'm ready. I'm ready for him to step up and get that opportunity really as a full-time starter at some point. I like Thomas a lot. Stevens, though, we'll see. It's still early in the season. He's made some plays. He maybe had his best game versus Dallas maybe of the season this past week. I didn't see him get his beat as much, but still, overall, it hasn't been the most impressive season from Brandon Stevens so far. Brandon Seasons and Brandon Stevens. Either which way, cornerback has been very underwhelming in general, such as the secondary has. And same thing with the linebacker position. I thought going into the season, we were pretty good shape. Jameen Sherwood's been pretty dang solid, but besides Sherwood, Maui Noah has gotten beaten coverage and missed a couple assignments that have caused touchdowns. And then you got Quincy Williams, unfortunately, getting injured, and he's out right now, so he's on IR. You got McCray Ball, who's been a rotational player. He's a little banged up too right now, so we're stepping up with guys like Cam Jones, Mark Robinson, who are on the active roster, Weston. We'll see. But Maui Noah has been a guy. I mean, he's a rookie, so let's give him that. He's more of a run defender anyway type. But Sherwood, Maui Noah haven't been unbelievable at linebacker either this season for them. But I do think Sherwood's been pretty solid overall. And on the defensive line, as I mentioned earlier, I think edge rushers is something that we need to consider very much in the top of this draft, because the reasoning why I think the edge class is pretty dang good, just like the wide receiving class. And also, when you were thinking about 2027, Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald are both free agents. So I don't necessarily know if they're going to re-sign both of those guys. I would seriously, at minimum, want to come with an edge rusher on round 3 or earlier. And getting a guy to be able to develop with the lack of depth. Michael Clemens, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know at this point. McGregor, we got penalties going there. I don't want 500 flags out here. So, but McGregor could be a good rotational player for us, maybe in the long haul. Either which way, like we need edge depth. We need to think about the future here, and that is why I am very much leaning towards adding a pass rusher early in this draft. And I would not hate if they went Ruben Bain if they're picking number 1 overall. I'd take Ruben Bain right now. Dude, that'd be sick. You get Ruben Bain, maybe get a wide receiver in round 2. Like, I'd be down with that for sure. Either which way, Will McDonald, I like him a lot. I think he's made some big time plays this year. He's been their best pass rusher, period. And run game, he's been a little less of a liability overall. I think McDonald's had a very solid start to the season. Jermaine Johnson, I haven't seen as much make as many plays, but he's still been around the football and been a good run defender and everything like that. So we'll see. But right now, interior defense line is looking pretty good with Big Q. You got Harrison Phillips, been a solid run defender there and is under contract. Hasn't been unbelievable or anything like that, but Briggs has been a nice rotational player for us there too. So I think between Briggs, Phillips, I'm not super worried about that. Taylor, he's been a little injury prone. He's more of a situational player anyway. Between those 4 guys, we can figure it out this offseason. Al Briggs is outlined in black, which means he's a free agent, but he's an exclusive restricted free agent. So we'll bring him back on the cheap. I'm not worried about that, which we got a steal on him. I'm glad we traded. Coward unfortunately got injured. He would have been a nice rotational player to have this season. Maybe we can bring him back on the cheap. I'm not super worried about it, but it is something we can consider. Overall, edge rusher is a earlier need for this football team. Safety is a big need for this football team. Linebacker is a sneaky need for this football team as well. I think corner, we're just going to have to get better coaching here because we've invested in it. We've got our 3 starters under contract. Ezra Thomas is under contract. We could bring back Brownlee on the cheap. That is really what I'm thinking with this cornerback room. Let's get better coaching. Speaking of coaching, here it is. Let's talk about coaching because, yes, when you have a rookie head coach, and Aaron Glenn has never been a head coach for it before, so I expect a little bit of, uncertainty and a little out of whack or things happening like some of the things that have happened thus far this season. Still, we need to see growth. Okay, at this point, we're getting close to mid-season. This is where we need to start, lining up, turning up some gears and figuring some of those things out. I don't want to have as many coverage busts and problems with the offense as we're having currently as we go along in the season. Let's start stacking some wins, whether that just means not allowing a 60-yard play this next week or stopping, the ball carries with tackling, because tackling is a coaching thing. I'm telling you right now, tackling is very much coaching. And this tackling problem we have right now is a serious issue that we need to nip in the bud. We have had so many missed tackles, I can't even count. I haven't looked at the stats or anything like that, but I'm guessing we have got to have some of the highest missed tackles in the NFL right now. We have to do better. We have to be better coached. Tanner Engstrand, haven't been super impressed at times, but, we'll see. Once again, first-year offensive coordinator making the calls. I want to see some growth. I'm not giving up just yet, though, because I think you really need to see that growth. I'm okay starting off rough. We just need to get better, and that really comes with time. Going on to free agency, though, now, and starting with the team cuts, I'm not going to let anybody go. There was nobody that said, all right, we don't need to move anything. We got plenty of cap space. I'm not worried about that. Let's talk about free agency in terms of the guys we have to re-sign. Starting with the offense side of the ball, the guys that I'm bringing back are Breece Hall, Max Mitchell, Josh Myers, and AVT. With Breece Hall, I cannot let him out the building. 4 years, $48 million. As I said before, we're basing this on a Josh Jacobs contract, $7 million in that first year. I think Breece Hall is a really good playmaker to have and somebody that we cannot let go out of the building. And then we go ahead and re-sign Max Mitchell as a good swing tackle, 2 years, $7 million. This is around like a Chuma Adoga level contract that I base this off of. Very fair. Same thing with Josh Myers. Good, solid backup in us for us. 2 years, $7 million. And he stepped up this year. He's not been amazing. I think that he is a solid player that if called upon, you feel great about. Maybe not as a full-time starter. Overall, like he's gotten the job done, and it could definitely be a lot worse out here. And he has had that tie with Justin Fields. So if Fields is still the starting quarterback, Myers can stay in at center. We can keep Tip at right guard, and we can go from there. But AVT coming back, then what we could do is we could put Tip at left guard, have AVT at right guard, and then have Josh Myers at center at worst case scenario, or we can go out and sign somebody free agency too. Like we can figure those things out. No matter what, I love Myers as a swing interior offensive lineman. I want to make sure we have somebody there. I did let Loa John Simpson just figured he might want to go somewhere where he can compete or something at this point in his career. And yeah, that's kind of what it is. Defensively wise, I brought back Byron Coward as some more depth, just figuring, hey, depth is important. And maybe after the injury, he's looking to get another 1 year prove it sort of thing. We got Jarvis Brownlee on a 3 year deal, $9 million, $3 million average. Very solid backup cornerback. I base this off of Isaac Yadam's deal and just feel like, hey, if we can have that solid depth, especially with the injuries that we've had with Michael Carter, this makes a lot of sense that we need to have a little bit of depth there. Plus, Brownlee can also play a little on the outside if we have some injuries there. I also did bring back Jeremy Rutkert and Andrew Beck there, some more depth. I gave Rutkert a $12 million deal. This was based off of, was it Luke Farrell's deal or Charlie Warner? Something like that. It was based on one of those Torres deals. A couple of those guys in that range. $4 million, I think is very fair for a good, solid backup tight end. Andrew Beck, though, brought him back on a 1 year deal for the fullback. On to the restricted and other signings here that I wasn't quite able to fit in there. So we got Ball, Newman, Smart. Also breaks back there. As I mentioned earlier, he's an exclusive restricted free agent, so he should be super cheap. A lot of these guys are exclusive restricted free agents. Xavier Newman and Stone Smart are UDFAs, but I think both of those guys could be brought back pretty cheap or on the practice squad, either which way. Speaking of practice squad, I do budget in $4 million for a practice squad to count towards the cap there. And now we go on to the outside free agent signings. It gets a little interesting right here. And I'm first off on the offense. We'll talk about some defensive moves here in a minute, but I'm bringing in Jalen Tolbert on a 2 year, $7 million deal just to be a good, solid wide receiver to come in here that for over 2 years, cheap deal, and can give us a little bit of depth here. You see some of these backup wide receivers, that's kind of where they come in at 2 years, $7 million. And I feel like that would be pretty good for Jalen Tolbert. Don't trust me, we're going to go in the draft for sure, but Tolbert can bring in a guy that on the outside can help us there in that vertical realm. Charlie Heck as a swing tackle, a good experienced man that has left and right tackle ability. I like that. $1.5 million as the veteran in there as well with Max Mitchell. Brought back Joel Bitonio, 1 year, $10 million thing. At this point, I based this off of Kevin Zeitler's deal. It's just a $1 million above that. And Bitonio, slide him in as the starter at left guard to kind of keep us solidified right there. And that allows us to have Tittman at center. Myers is our swing interior offensive lineman again, and then ABT on that 1 year prove it deal with maybe some incentives out there. On the defense side of the ball, okay, I like Ebukanamala. I think he's a really good pass rusher, and on a 1 year, $6 million deal, I think we could get incredible value in what he brings to the table as a situational pass rusher for us. Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean's a good football player. He just is injury bugs. So that's why I brought in Matt Milano, too, who might be looking to, if the Bills let him go after this season, then we could bring him Milano to just do a little bit of, get back right. I don't know. Sometimes that happens in the division, right? That happens a lot. I feel like players go to different teams. So I figured Milano's out there, could help us a little bit out with some coverage ability too. Dean is a dude that makes plays around in the run game. And yeah, Milano can help us out a little bit in the pass game. Cameron Curl going to be our big signing of free agency, I would say, in terms of financially. 3 years, $45 million, $15 million a season. Big time contributor for the Rams right now. He's made so many big time plays. Interceptions, just had a couple of interceptions versus the Colts that basically won them that game. But actually, I mean, AD Mitchell kind of lost them the game anyways, but I don't want to hate on AD Mitchell too much. But Cameron Curl is definitely going to be a nice help in that back end, solidify a stud there. We need it. And also Julian Blackman. I brought him in too because why not? We need a little more depth there on a 1 year deal. This allows Malachi Moore to continue his development and see what we have there. At the same time, I want to make sure we're improving the safety position. I bring in two guys that absolutely can start. Curl as a locked-in starter and Blackman as a guy that comes in and competes with Malachi Moore. Best man wins and have yourself a third safety. Draft spend, I project $13 million. It gets us right to the brim there. I wanted to use every single dollar that I had. But going on to the roster before the draft now. Oh, are you ready? You ready for the draft? It's going to get a little spicy here, I'm telling you. I'm giving you the warning, the 5-minute warning. Offensive line, we have our starters in place. We have our swing offensive linemen too with Myers and Mitchell and Heck. So now it just comes down to we got to think about the future, right? We still need to draft a guard. So that's something round 3 through round 5 would make a lot of sense to draft and develop somebody there. Wide receiver is an early need. It's a need. I didn't spend big on free agency. We've learned our lesson here with Alan Lazard. I'm going to go ahead and get somebody in the draft. Running back, we don't need a whole ton here. Maybe add a receiving element to this room would be nice late in the draft, but that's about it. Quarterback is a need. We'll be talking about that more. Tight end, you could draft somebody late or pick up a UDFA. That would be my recommendation here at this point. Defensively wise, we need an edge rusher. We still need an edge rusher. We brought in Ebukam, who's going to be a great situational player for us, but we got to think about the future, 2027. And that's what I'm going to be looking at somewhere day 2. Even if Ruben Bain, if I guaranteed myself number 1 overall pick, I would probably go Ruben Bain. I'll just be honest. We'll talk about that in a minute. Cornerback wise, I'm not going to do a ton. I'm just going to hope for some better coaching. Secondary wise, in general, though, adding in safeties and Blackman and Curl, I'm going to list them as the starters, but Moore is going to compete with Blackman for sure. I feel way better about that secondary. Linebacker, we bring in 2 guys as well, just trying to bring in strength and numbers in this case scenario. Whether it's Dean or Milano starting, may the best man win. We need help in a lot of categories there. So let's get into the draft. Picking it our spot here, 1 through 3, it could even be a little worse. I think the Jets might win more games than what we're all expecting right now. As I said before, their schedule is getting better. So I'm going to be a little lenient with this one. I could see it being 3rd to 5. I'm just going to put 1 through 3 because right now that's where we're being projected after week number 5. Overall, Jordan Tyson. We need a little blow. We need a little Mike Tyson action in the wide receiving room. You get Jordan Tyson. I almost said Mike Tyson. I want to say Mike Tyson because, dude, Jordan Tyson is one of the best wide receivers. He is probably the best wide receiver in college football right now. Oh, I mean, Jeremiah Smith might have something to say about that. That's true. But Jordan Tyson's a beast, man. He's the best draft eligible prospect at wide receiver. And this is a good wide receiving class. And Tyson and Garrett Wilson, that combination and what we can have between those 2 guys, I love it. I really do. Tyson's also a solid route runner too, but he can make plays above the rim, maybe be a little more consistent in that department than Garrett Wilson, even though Garrett Wilson can make some insane catches too. But Tyson and Garrett Wilson, Arian Smith, that combination, what we have with speed, outside ability, and route running, it's just a beautiful blend. And it gives Justin Fields all the tools we need. Plus, we're going to draft some quarterbacks. Okay, I'm just going to say that right now. I just love Jordan Tyson. Either him or Ruben Bain. It just comes down to who's on the board. If Bain's available, I'm actually taking Bain probably, and then trying to see if we can get somebody in a trade, possibly like a Chris Olave. Hey, even they probably wouldn't want to come here. Hey, we might pair up with Garrett Wilson again. Like that'd be pretty dang cool too. Either which way, I'm taking Jordan Tyson there. Round number 2, I'm taking LT Overton over our quarterback. I could also see this one being a quarterback. I'm a huge LT Overton fan. I think that even though the stats aren't there, he's got such strong hands. He consistently is block shedding off of his getting off of his blocks. I guess that's what is block shedding. I'm just describing it as, but like he is just an incredibly strong and long athlete. He's not the most explosive guys. You don't expect Will McDonald or anything like that, but he wins at the point of attack routinely. And while he doesn't have those big time numbers that you're looking for, I do think he's going to be way more of a presence and a consistent role with LT Overton on a week-to-week basis that is going to succeed in the NFL. You pair him along with Will McDonald for the future, or Jermaine Johnson, whoever's re-signed. If we re-sign both of them, fine. Keep LT Overton, Jermaine Johnson, and Will McDonald. That's a great room of 3 that I'm looking at and building a good pass rush and a good defensive line. And then going on to our 4th round pick, we are taking a quarterback here. I know you've probably heard me talk about Sorsby over and over and over. I'm a huge Sorsby fan. I think he's a guy that he's got some limitations, though, and that's why ultimately I think where he ends up going is probably more of a day 2, day 3 selection. Right now, consensus-wise, he's more of a day 3 guy. I don't think people have gotten to the film yet. His film so far this year is way better than it was last year. It's not perfect, but I'm really impressed, especially if he continues the Kansas-Iowa State film. That has a lot of promise there with Sorsby. So we'll see more with him as the season progresses. And maybe Cincinnati can make a playoff run too this year. They may be the favorites, so we'll see how it works. But right now, Sorsby's a guy that I would love to be able to draft and develop. And I would take another quarterback here too, which we might take another quarterback hint. I would take a different approach since we haven't been able to hit on these first-round quarterbacks and we're giving them all away. How about we do a little bit of Cleveland Brown approach, right? Let's go take the best players in the draft at the top, build this roster some more, and then we can draft some guys here because Fields is going to be under contract. That allows him to be the starter, and then you get a couple of guys later on in the draft that have a lot of upside, and maybe it also lowers the expectation, so it doesn't bring as much expectations for Brandon Sorsby or another quarterback that we bring in, so that way they're not hitting the media hype so much. It allows them some time to develop because then all media eyes aren't on them in preseason and saying, oh my gosh, he's looking terrible. Well, if it's a 4th or 5th round pick or 6th round pick that is maybe not looking so good, then New York media isn't going to be as brash because they're not as worried, right? So that's just kind of the way I'm seeing this too. We have to look at it from a lot of different perspectives. I'm just going to go strength in numbers. That's what it is. And I like Sorsby a lot. His athleticism and arm are incredible. Just needs to develop a little more in the processor. Going on to our next fourth round pick. This is a comp pick at 140 projected. Micah Morris from Georgia, the big, tall, and lengthy offensive guard there at Georgia, who slid in for Dylan Fairchild this season and been very, very solid on the Georgia offensive line, been one of their better offensive linemen. And while he's not like the most laterally gifted player or anything like that, he's got enough athleticism and somebody that I think could be a great developmental guy behind Joel Bitonio for a season. And I'm not saying he's going to be the long-term star, but he's got the traits, he's got the tools, he's got a lot of power. Continue to work on that leverage a little bit. The guy could be a really good football player. I was impressed. I've not watched a whole ton of film from him this year, but what I have seen in that Georgia offense line, I feel like Micah McMorris has been pretty dang solid over there. So I have watched a lot of him from 2024 and where he put some film out there, even though he's more of a rotational basis. I was watching him in Fairchild and Ratledge, and I thought Morris was really, really good in that film study. So we'll see how it goes with Morris, but he's definitely a dude that I'm going to keep an eye out on and has a lot of potential to be a good player and with some good development there. So I just think it makes sense to draft and develop somebody with some upside at that point. But here's the strength in numbers that I was talking about. The Klubnik, Cade Klubnik. I know you got tons of preseason hype. I think he is more in the day 3 range, especially at this moment. And at this point, let's go ahead and take a chance on Klubnik, who still has a lot of talent. Like the arm talent's there with him. He's got that grittiness. He's got that toughness. And at the 6th round, I have no problem taking Klubnik and seeing what you have. Maybe it's a little bit too on Sweeney in that offense and that scheme and not getting transfer from him. I don't know, but all that controversy is what it is. But Klubnik here, all right, cool. We'll take him. We'll take a chance on a quarterback. Him and Sorsby, best man win behind Justin Fields. Let's just bring in some guys with some talent and see what we got. Like that, at this point, I'm ready to roll with that. That feels a little bit better for me. And then Rashawn Benny here from Michigan. And Benny's been really good on that Wolverine defensive line. They got another player, too, on that interior defensive line that's been pretty dang solid, too, this season. They got some guys, obviously, as well. Derek Moore has been good, and we got another edge rusher to watch out for. Michigan defensive line, as always, seems to be stacked now. But Benny has been one of those guys that has been very, very strong and built a stout front on that run defense, and that's what I'm looking at as just another rotational run defender for this football team to be able to draft and develop at the end of the draft or in the 6th round here. Next pick, I'm going with Kyle Lewis, the linebacker, hybrid linebacker kind of guy here. He's got a little bit of a safety build. He is going to be a nice little developmental. He's undersized for sure, but he can be a little coverage player for us. And as I said before, that is an area that we've kind of lacked a little bit. Somebody who can cover a bit better in this linebacking room. And I feel like Lewis could be that developmental piece in the room. Next pick, I'm going with another Pitt player, right? A lot of times teams do this. They'll try to pair up the same team players. And I think Des Reed is a great football player that is just an extreme outlier. However, if we're bringing him in here as a receiving back or as a gadget back, I love that with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. You've got your workhorses. Now you go get, you got Isaiah Davis in there too, who's a solid running back. But I think Des Reed could add a great element of what we're maybe missing a little bit in here. So let's add in Des Reed and give ourselves a little complimentary piece into the offense. Next pick, Micah Morris, a guy that I studied at Ole Miss and I liked a lot. He is big. He's strong. His leverage isn't perfect, okay, especially as a bigger, taller offensive lineman. He's going to need to work on that a little bit more. At least that's what I saw at Ole Miss. However, I think he is a guy that has a lot of upside. He needs to keep his conditioning down, and his weight is going to be a big question mark, but he's got extremely good length, maybe 35-inch arms possibly, hulking size, and I do think he's a pretty dang good pass protector. I have not watched the film on him versus Ruben Bain, so I need to go check that out. I'm curious to see how many reps he got against him. I'll keep an eye on that. But Pettis, where he's being projected right now, hey, I'll take a chance on him at the end of the draft. I liked him at Ole Miss, so that's kind of what I'm going with it. Going on that past evaluation with Micah Pettis. Actually, I probably should have taken him at 56. He's at 57 since 257, right? I didn't know what it is. Xavier Nunpa, I missed an opportunity. Nonpa here from Iowa. We're going to take a safety, just another developmental safety. Give us some special teams ability. Xavier Nonpa, I know he's a former 5-star prospect coming out. Hasn't really lived up to that. He struggled in coverage at times, but there is still some talent there. And either which way, he can be a good developmental guy and give us some depth. We've got our starters now, and he'll give us some special teams ability too. So let's go ahead and recap everything up. Finish it all with this roster. What did we do? Did we improve the team? Hopefully, that's a big thing, right? I love the Jets. I love the Jets. That's what I keep telling myself. Please, please, could this be the year? Well, starting with quarterback here, we added in guys. We added in Sorsby. We added in Klubnik. We're taking a different approach here, as I mentioned before, trying out something new. And my hope is we can hit the next Tom Brady. Yeah, I know, right? Oh my gosh, here we go. Jeez Louise. I can't believe I just said those words in the Jets together. I'm sorry, Tom. I really apologize. But I think that Sorsby does have a lot of talent, and so does Klubnik too, especially in the 6th round. I feel great getting those two guys in the room. Fields is under contract, and whether we like it or not, Fields, he is going to be on the roster, or we cut him and lose $20 million. That's kind of what it is. So we have to figure that out, and that's why I'm taking this approach, and especially since it is just a little too early. I'm going to be doing another mock draft once the season ends, and we'll have more of a clarification on where the Jets are picking, what quarterbacks are coming out to the draft, and all those sort of things. And I'll feel a lot better about, hey, let's take a quarterback at number 1 overall, or wherever we're picking at number 4, 5, 6, whatever the case may be. I think I skipped some numbers at 2 and 3. I clearly don't account, but it is what it is. 6, 7, right? Everybody's doing this 6, 7. I don't even know what the heck that means. What are you juggling? 6, 7? That doesn't even make sense. Why are you juggling 6, 7 things? I don't get it, man. These kids nowadays, they're on a whole different thing. Beeswax, but no, it's all cool, man. We all have our own stuff growing up, of course. But I added in Jordan Tyson in the 1st round. I think Ruben Bain would be excellent too, depending on where we are picking. But Tyson here gives us a blow in this wide receiver room that is a nice 1-2 punch with Wilson and Arian Smith with that speed. Tolbert, we brought in free agency. I think that's a great wide receiving room for Justin Fields and for these young quarterbacks, right? Let's give them the talent. Let's give them the tools around them. We have a good offensive line. We also invested in that with Micah Morris and Micah Pettis, the two Micahs out here on the mic, dropping the beats. And then we got Joel Bitonio on free agency, brought back Josh Myers as a swing offensive lineman, AVT on that 1-year prove-it deal with some incentives. Hopefully he can stay healthy. We got our 2 bookend tackles. Heck yeah, man. And we also brought in Charlie Heck. So we're all vibing out here. This is the perfect segue. Let's go. I didn't intend that one. But anyway, that is what it is. And we got Desiree, too, to give us a little bit of a receiving element in the running back room. Maybe bring in a UDFA at tight end, a blocking element in free agency, something like that, and we'd be good to go. On to the defense now. And the defense, we added an edge rusher in LT Overton. He can help out if we lose Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald in free agency next year. I imagine we sign at least one of them. But there's a chance that we only sign one of them. So let's go ahead and think about the future here. LT Overton, I am a big fan of Overton. He's not going to put up those huge stats that you're going to go crazy about, but I think when you watch the film, he's super impressive with that hand strength that he has and the ability to be a great block shedder on the outside for us. We had Rashawn Benny, too, the defensive line. Is a good rotational run defender, and he's been very solid at Michigan at that. Linebacker, we added a coverage style linebacker with Kyle Lewis and somebody with some speed to help us out and be a rotational player and special teamer early on, and could develop by Matt Milano and N'Kobe Dean and those sort of things there. And with Maui Noah, too, who could still come along. Like, Maui Noah's still got a lot of talent. I don't want to harp on Maui Noah. He's just gotten beat a little bit in coverage one too often. On to the cornerback room, we didn't do anything there. I'm just banking on Azariah Thomas. I like him a lot, but I didn't bring back Jarvis Brownlee, at least to give us some depth, because he gives us that versatility with the injuries we've had, and Michael Carter. And then finally, safety, we focused on that in free agency. All right, there's different approaches you can take. We did draft Xavier Nwankpa there at the end of the draft. Going to probably be more of a special teamer for us at this point. But Blackman and Curl give us starters day one if we need it, especially with Curl. Day one starter locked in with that contract. But Moore can compete with Blackman right away. Best man wins there. And we overall have a secondary that maybe can be a little bit better with some better coaching and stuff like that. So that's what we do for the New York Football Jets. Let me know what you think. This is always a tough one for me because there is some bias. I'll be honest. When you're a fan of a football team, sometimes it's actually harder to do the mock drafts for because you have geared biases and you have things like you're like, all right, whereas other teams, I love all 32 teams too. I really try not to be biased or anything like that. But at the end of the day, there was always some bias. I'm not going to lie about that. So it's actually sometimes easier, though, to do other teams because you look at it more from a foundational approach and how you're doing things. You aren't so cleared up on your biases and whatnot. So there's that too to it. But anyway, let me know what you think. Agree or disagree. I hope you guys have a really cool day. And maybe we can find a quarterback. I love the Jets. I love the Jets. I'm just going to keep telling that. I love the Jets. No, I really do love the Jets. No matter what, thick and thin, you got to stay with your team. That's my view on it. You can always have some fun bandwagon teams. Like for me, the Jaguars, the Colts. I live in Indy too, so there's that. But I know 2 NFC, AFC South teams, right? But they're literally the bandwagon fans I have this year. Speaking of which, I'll let you guys go. Sorry, I'm blabbering on, talking over there, but I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you have a really good one.